Buzz, 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 Yellowjackets Hive, and welcome back to the 7th episode of Hive After Dark, covering the 8th episode, A Normal Boring Life of Season 3 of Yellowjackets. I'm your host, Emily, and as always, I am so happy to be here with everybody tonight. So, welcome in, guys. How is everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody had a great weekend. Hi, Dustin. Hi, Kimberly. Uh, can I just say, wow? The ending of this episode kind of left me a little bit sick to my stomach there. Shauna seems to be losing her ever-loving mind and has gone absolutely feral, or like so it seems. Just when I think that the show can't throw any more curveballs at us, they decide to throw the fact that not only is Melissa alive in the present day, but she's married to Hannah's daughter. Like, what in the actual fuck is happening? Like, what is happening? How can she live with the fact that she contributed to her mother's death and keep that hidden and tucked away from her for their entire relationship? Hi, Angie. Hi, Kennedy. Hi, Becca. Hi, Melissa. Yeah, Shauna is psycho. Disgusting, but amazing. uh, Melissa's literally living a double life, and she faked her death and changed her name to Kelly. Does that mean that she doesn't even speak to her own family anymore? Because it 100% seems as if she disappeared from her old life without a trace. Like, was that what she intended to do after they were rescued the entire time? I think Melissa was right when she tells Shauna that she creates her own problems and that it's fun for her, that she enjoys watching her life blow up. And buzz, 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 Lola. Hi, Alan. Uh, I What's interesting about that is that Adam kind of said the same thing to Shauna back in season 1 before they slept together at her house. He said something about how she creates her own chaos and that she just loves to watch shit blow up. So I don't disagree. Her behavior has been somewhat destructive ever since we met her in season 1 in the teen timeline even. I mean, she was having sex with her best friend's boyfriend. Like, let's be real. Wouldn't she need new documents, birth certificate, driver's license, etc.? Yeah, those thoughts all cross my mind too. Melissa's not alive. It's Shauna's demented mind. I've seen that going around on social media that a lot of people think that Melissa might just be a figment of her imagination. I love Melissa throwing all the truth bombs at Shauna, saying how she loved to watch it all burn down. Yeah, Melissa may not be the most sane person given like her story, but she definitely threw a lot of truth bombs at Shauna for sure. So, how is everyone feeling about finally getting the Hilary Swank reveal? As soon as I saw that backwards hat, the first words out of my mouth were, "God damn it." You all know that I was convinced, dead set, that there was no way that Hilary Swank was going to be Melissa because it just felt too obvious to me. But I guess like they really weren't trying to pull a fast one on us in this particular plot point. I should have known that when Van made the comment about her being dead in the last episode, that was in fact a misdirect. But like Shauna had that super shady look on her face when that was said. So it's revealed to us though that Shauna was under the impression that Melissa was dead as well. But did she know that Melissa would be there when she went to confront Hannah's daughter? Or did like she says she didn't, but then how did she know the fact that Melissa changed her name to Kelly? Unless Shauna looked her up and just saw that Alex, Hannah's daughter's wife's name was Kelly. So obviously she put 2 and 2 together. I will say that this may be the first episode of the show that I was absolutely drooling for the adult timeline. Drooling. Like, that's all I wanted to see. This confrontation between Melissa and Shauna has been building all season long. Although we weren't like 100% sure who Hilary Swank was going to be, but we knew someone sent that tape and that confrontation would be a big one. So I was literally holding my breath watching their conversation. And I don't think that's ever been the case for me before with the adult timeline. Uh, I am so baffled by the fact that not only did Lottie say she wanted to stay behind when they were about to hike out to the rescue point, but so did Shauna and Ty, of all people. Ty saying it doesn't feel right after not buying into any of Lottie's bullshit up until this very moment. I do think that other Ty came into play here, though, in that moment. I'll talk about that a little later. But it was Stockholm syndrome, like for their surroundings in a way. Although, like, I knew this couldn't be how they got rescued because they still have time left out in the wilderness. And we know that neither Hannah nor Kodiak survive into the present day. So both of them still have to die. Yes, the adult timeline has been better this season than any other, and it's just beyond amazing right now. Agreed. I think Shauna is scared to go back without Jackie and have to leave her baby out there. Lola, I think you're 100% right about that. I think that leaving will be leaving behind her baby, and she doesn't want to do that. But I also think it has to do with the fact that Shauna has power, and it's the first time in her life that she's ever felt important and like that she has respect and meaning. And I don't think she wants that feeling to go away. So I think she wants to stay out there for that reason alone right now. I expect another time jump in episode 9 or 10. I think that's a very big possibility. Dustin. So we still have yet to see the Pit Girl sequence play out, which many have speculated doesn't take place too long before they're rescued. And you could see in Shauna's face when they were all packing up to leave the wilderness that she was not happy, that she didn't want what was happening to happen. In some twisted way, she was beginning to enjoy their time out there and the power that she wielded over the rest of the group. Not only that, but she still has so much fucking rage. Like, she is so rageful. Where will all of that go once they get rescued? Does she just bury it down deep and not let it come out again until we see her in the present day doing all this reckless shit that she's doing? I'm super excited to see where things go with the next episode. Shauna is so scary. Shauna is delusional to her mental illness. Shauna doesn't want to lose power and face the shame. Lottie doesn't want to deal with being ostracized by her mental illness. Ty, or Dark Ty, is scared of not being accepted for her orientation. Yes, that's a very good summary, Dustin, and I would agree with that. I think they're scared to go back and be judged for all the things they did out there. But if they come up with a cover story, then how's anyone ever going to know what they did out there? I think Pit Girl will happen in 10 with a cliffhanger. Yeah, I think that's a good possibility. We also know nothing about her home life and what she'd be going home to. That's very true. We don't know anything about Shauna's home life. Now, before I dive into the recap aspect of things, I wanted to share a few clips, like a little sneak peek of my interview with Kevin Alves for you guys. I spoke with him last Monday, and he was so great. He was really personable, and he gave such a good insight into Travis's state of mind, like what Travis's state of mind has been throughout season 3. And the first clip pertains directly to this episode that we just saw. Do you think that Travis wants rescue at this point? Aquila seemed to kind of sabotage his plan a little bit by leaving that trail of fabric for the rest of the group to find you guys.
Yeah, I think undoubtedly, like when we're in episode 8, I feel like we can definitely tell, and in 7 as well. Like Natalie and Travis, I think are the two that, like, I undoubtedly am sure they want to go home, like
Yeah.
right now, you know. And yeah, Travis wants to go home, and I think he'd be super willing to kind of throw everyone under the bus right now to do it, and then see what happens after. And yeah, I kind of think the moment with Aquila where he just like is like, you're not a prophet. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
get over it. I think it makes so much sense because he's saying what we've all been thinking for like so
Yep.
many episodes in a row. It's like, all right, you're it's Cape fumes. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. She latched onto Lottie in a big way that I did not expect at all because
Mhm.
I mean, she didn't really seem like somebody who believed in all of that stuff either. So to see that shift in her was really surprising.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think and I think that and I think feeling those first visions that probably like sold her really
Yeah,
quickly, and Travis then being the one to be like, I saw it and brought you here. And I think that's where we see kind of them for this whole season is Travis's guilt about that.
true. Yeah. And she also makes a really interesting comment to Travis. She tells him that he's the only person that she thinks that she can trust, which really caught my attention that she said that because I mean, Travis kind of offered her up to Lottie in the first place as like a substitution for him so that Lottie would get off of his back. You know what I mean? At least that's the way it came off to me that that's why
Oh,
Travis did that.
oh, absolutely. He immediately was getting scared of Lottie and what she was pushing him to do, and he wasn't feeling any better. And I think that's the thing we have to understand about Travis at the beginning of the season is he's just trying to feel better and he's trying to
Mhm.
cope with his grief. And I think he was leaving all his sessions with Lottie. You know, in episode one, it's kind of really nice. Like they're talking to each other, and there's something really nice about those moments. Then immediately after that, when he starts to hear the frogs and hear the things, and then Lottie pushing him to do it again,
Yeah.
you know that he's not feeling good. You know he's scared, and I think it honestly is a game day decision for him when he does push it to Aquila because
Mhm.
he can't take how he's feeling anymore. And I think that that just kind of lingers. That's why Travis goes to the caves with him. I think that's why he's checking in with Aquila. I think that's why he's bringing Aquila with him.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of it just comes down to his guilt about pushing this onto her and now seeing her believe it. I do think that part of him thought that she would tell Lottie to go you know where,
Yeah.
because she didn't seem like she really believed in that stuff. And so, you know, once he sees that she's buying into it and doing all this stuff, I think a lot of it comes down to him feeling really guilty for putting it on her and now watching her go through it.
So it's really interesting to me to just hear their perspective on what the characters were thinking and doing and saying and just get their opinion. So this next clip was just a fun question. We as a fandom know how crazy our theories can get. So I wanted to hear Kevin's thoughts on the theories that the fandom has come up with. That's fair. Yellowjackets fans absolutely love their theories, as you know. Have you heard any wild ones about Travis that have made you stop and think?
Travis is, you know, Travis is kind of he's he's kind of logical this season. Like Travis to me is kind of like, you know, it's a lot of what I would probably end up doing in this season, where it's like I'd retreat to the back, I'd do all that. So the theory that still is just absolutely mind-boggling to me is when people start pulling Travis out as Antler Queen. I'm like, I just like I get conforming. I just can't imagine him ever leading anything anymore. Like I can't see it coming.
That would be a twist.
That would be one heck of a twist, everybody.
Yeah. I've seen some theories that involve Travis. Back in season
Oh,
2,
wow.
a lot of people used to speculate that Lisa was Travis and Natalie's daughter. I don't know if you ever saw that
Yeah, I
one.
do.
But
I
that was a
have heard
big
that.
one.
I've heard the daughter situation. I've also, yeah, heard that Travis has multiple kids.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I don't
He
know.
was busy.
He was busy out there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how that would work, but I look forward to seeing what the writers come up with.
So that was just a fun question. And the last one that I'm going to share with you guys, the last clip, is I asked Kevin which episode this season was his favorite overall. And I'm going to let you guys see what he had to say. So, what is your favorite episode for season 3? You don't have to specify why if it's one that we haven't seen yet.
Um, one of my favorite episodes that we have seen is 6. I think
So
6
good.
is a really, yeah, you know, I think it's a great episode. I think it just like has so much that we expected to see, that was shocking
Mhm.
to see, you know, selfishly, you know, seeing that moment with Natalie and Travis, and then also the shocking ending. Like I just think that
Yeah.
there was so much, and Pete did such a great job on that episode. Um, you know, there is one to come that's going to be really satisfying for me as a viewer, and I think that'll be really cool. to kind of see how it all comes together
Yeah.
when the world gets to see it. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, it's a nice little battle between 6 and 1 that's to come.
And given what he says a little later in the interview, when we talk about this, I think that he's referring to the finale here, which is titled Full Circle. And there have been a lot of theories floating around that this could be in reference to the fact that we may actually see the pit girl scene after all. So we shall see in the next few weeks from now. But be sure to tune in tomorrow for the full interview, which will be released on YouTube and social media. I'm not 100% sure what time I'm going to release it, but I'm going to try to get it uploaded by midday. So it will be there for you guys tomorrow. Now, let's dive into the recap aspect. Only 2 episodes left. Yes, Dustin, I know. I'm so excited and so sad at the same time. That's the perfect way to describe it, Lola. Like, I'm so excited for these last 2 episodes, but at the same time, I'm so sad because it means that this season is coming to an end, and it means that these weekly chats are coming to an end. But have no fear, I have some stuff up my sleeve for after this season is over. So, with that, let's get into the recap now. Can't wait for the full interview. Yeah, it's a really good one. He was a great guest. Episode 308 is titled A Normal Boring Life, and the synopsis is, with a possible escape from their nightmare, the Yellowjackets learn not everyone may be in a rush to leave. In the present, the unexpected return of an old teammate sends Shauna spiraling in ways that should probably concern everyone, and that is the understatement of the year. Directed by Anya Adams and written by Ashley Lyle, Bart Nickerson, and Julia Bicknell. And I feel like this episode really had undertones of like the first season to it, which I think our Ashley and Bart wrote a lot of. So it makes sense because they wrote this episode. I have a wild theory that Akila offed Lonnie. Akila. You think we're going to see Akila within the next 2 episodes? Okay. Well, I'm all for surprises, so let's see. But this episode opens up with teen Shauna in a supermarket scanning groceries, and her customer just happens to be Jackie. So we obviously decipher really quickly that this is a dream. And Jackie's kind of like taunting Shauna, that saying Shauna didn't pan out like she should have. And Shauna scanning the groceries, and she looks down and she realizes that it's body parts. And among these body parts is also some hot cocoa, which is a nice little touch. And also, Jackie happens to be wearing the colors pink and green, which in the very first episode, she talks about going to Rutgers next year with Shauna and what colors their room should be. And she says that they should be pink and green. And I'm pretty sure she says that because she says it's classy meets preppy, or classic meets preppy, something like that. And she's calling Shauna Shipman. And Shauna snaps and says, "Stop calling me Shipman. I fucking hate it." And Jackie's like, "Since when?" And Shauna says, "Since always." And it's kind of really sad that Shauna never spoke up in real life about how being called Shipman bothered her. But at the same time, she never, Preppy meets Palm Beach. Okay, yes, thank you, Lila. I knew it was something like that. Uh, at the same time, like, other people call her Shipman uh besides Jackie, and she's never indicated any other time that it bothers her. So and then Shauna asks, "Is this really what my life is going to look like?" And Jackie responds with, "How am I supposed to know? I'm dead. You killed me." Which to me shows that Shauna 100% believes that she killed Jackie. Like, no doubt. And she kind of did by telling her to go outside. But as easily as she told Jackie to go outside, Jackie didn't have to actually listen to her. Jackie could have come back in. And I highly doubt that any of them would have truly stopped Jackie if she came back inside. So, in my opinion, Jackie was just as stubborn in this situation as Shauna was. And at the end of the dream, she looks up at a light that's like covered in bugs or like some kind of moth. And Jackie says they're drawn to the light. And the light just happens to break open as Shauna wakes up sitting outside Hannah's daughter's house. And so that's Shauna's guilty. I think Shauna was afraid to speak up where it would make Jackie love her less as a BFF. That makes sense. That's Shauna's guilty conscience. Yeah, that makes sense. That she would be afraid that she would lose Jackie. I mean, I feel like Shauna felt like she didn't really fit in anywhere. Like she didn't really feel like she had a place. And being Jackie's sidekick was her place, if that makes sense. And Shauna preferred to share her true thoughts in her diaries rather than people. That's very true. She did. Uh, so she takes the knife up to the front door of the house, and which just happens to be open, which who in today's world actually leaves their doors unlocked? um, what is Shauna thinking going up to this house with this knife like this? Is she just gonna slice open some random woman on her front doorstep? What will she say if she does something like that? What will she tell? What will be her cover story? Oh, I just showed up at this random woman in Virginia's house and I killed her on her front doorstep because she sent me a creepy tape that has evidence that I killed her mom when I was stranded in the wilderness 25 years ago. Like, what are you going to tell people if you do something like that? um, so she's like truly lost it and got 100% rogue, if you ask me. Like, this proves that she's willing to do literally whatever it takes to keep herself safe, to keep her secrets safe. And like, she walks through the house and hears people upstairs. So she hides in what appears to be a pantry as they come downstairs. I don't know if Shauna ever had a plan. She just acts on impulse and came prepared with a knife. That's, yeah. And she didn't actually come prepared with the knife. She bought the knife on the way there. So she wasn't even actually prepared. um, and then two women and a little girl come downstairs into the kitchen. And this is our first glimpse of Hilary Swank on screen. And one of the adult women, obviously Hilary Swank, is wearing a backwards hat. And as soon as I saw this hat, like I said earlier, I knew my suspicions had to be 100% wrong. And Hilary Swank was, in fact, playing Melissa because, I mean, come on, they're not going to put a backwards hat on her if she's not Melissa. That's literally Melissa's signature look. And I think I had a conversation with my friend Allison, who's in the chat right now, earlier, and she said something about how that was for casual viewers so that they could really decipher that that was who Melissa was with the hat. Like, us diehards are obviously going to know, but for people who don't watch the episode 5 times before we do these live streams, then the hat was an indicator that she was Melissa. And so her wife and daughter leave, and she grabs the knife, or acts like she's going to go cut up some kind of fruit or vegetable on the counter, and she grabs a knife and she starts walking away, and she turns around and she says something like, I don't know whose house you think you just walked into, but you have no idea, basically. And Shauna walks out of the closet, like where she was hiding, and she's like, actually, I do, Melissa. Or is it Kelly now, or something like that? And she asks her what she's doing alive. The casual viewers need the extra. Yeah, they do. They do, for sure. She asked her what she's doing alive. So they all were obviously under the assumption that Melissa was dead, meaning like she had to have survived the wilderness and died after they got back. So, like I asked before, did Shauna know she was going to find Melissa here, or was that a complete surprise to her when she came downstairs and in that kitchen? Shauna initially went to Alex's house because she was under the impression that Alex had sent her the tape. So, did she automatically change her assumption once she saw Melissa inside the closet? Like, was she immediately like, okay, I know what's going on here. Like, this is obviously being sent by her, and this Alex has nothing to do with it. So Shauna tells Melissa to put down the knife, and Melissa says she's not going to talk to Shauna with a knife in her hand and no knife in hers, which, touche, Melissa, touche. And she says something about being a sane person, and Shauna comes at her and says, sane? Like marrying the daughter of a woman we killed and changing her name to Kelly? And Melissa responds with, a lot has happened in the last 25 years. So Melissa actually married Hannah's daughter after they were rescued. So Hannah's daughter obviously doesn't know the real truth about who Melissa is. Why in the world would Melissa end up married to Hannah's daughter? That is literally the weirdest thing that they have thrown at us on this show yet, I think. So like I was so convinced that she was not playing that Hilary Swank was not playing Melissa, and I said I would eat my words, guys. So it's a good thing that I'm hungry, because I was so sure that not 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 Melissa, and I was so wrong. The next moment we see Misty in the hospital, and she's calling Shauna, leaving her a voicemail saying, "Hi Shauna, I'm just calling to say fuck you, actually. I swear to God, you will regret it if you do not turn the car around right now and come back here right this minute. Thank you." So of course Misty quickly starts off a voicemail saying, "I just want to say fuck you," and then at the end says thank you. Like, no one else would do that but Misty. They definitely know what they're doing, making us question everything. Yeah. Adult Melissa is more reasonable and rational than Shauna. Yeah, I think anybody is more reasonable and rational than Shauna, though. So the doctor tells Ty that it's not looking good for Van, and that they need to consider putting her in palliative care. And because there's nothing really else that they can do for her at this point in time. And Ty does not take the news very well. This is the moment when the doctor literally physically touches Ty's arm. And in this moment, you can like literally see a look go through Ty's eyes. And it's like dark Ty, other Ty took over. Like for me, 100% in that moment. Like that was so visible that that shift happened. Unless like she never left, you know what I mean? And she's like the dominant personality now for all time. And like normal Ty is like tucked back in her brain somehow. But it really seemed like she was dominating the situation. And Missy asked Ty if there's anything that she can do. I have a wild theory that Barbara is actually Aquila. Okay. All right. I could get behind something like that. That would be a twist. That would be a real big twist. Ty is in the sunken place. What's the sunken place? I feel like I've heard of this reference before, but I don't recognize it. Like I do, but I don't. Notice that she tells Misty, we don't want that. I think talking about her two sides. Okay. Uh, so Misty asks Ty if there's anything she can do to help, and Ty tells her she can help her find the palliative care unit. And Misty questions this, saying that she thought that Ty didn't want her to go to the palliative care unit. Ty says she doesn't. So this obviously indicates that Ty is looking for an easy sacrifice to buy Van some more time, because this is the only way that Ty knows how to do that at this point. Misty, then in the teen timeline, clearly had spent the entire night outside alone after losing her glasses after Kodiak shot the arrow at her in the last episode. And she stumbles through the forest and somehow miraculously finds those glasses. And they are broken, just like they were in the very first scene that we see Misty in the teen timeline in the Cannibal Council scene, when she pulls that mask off her face. And her face is the only face that we see for that whole scene. And her glasses were cracked. So this has to be an indicator that we can't be too far away from getting to that point in the teen timeline, guys. Like that is a big clue for me, I think. Aquila and Travis are walking through the woods with Kodiak, and he asks them if they are prepared for the hike to the pickup point. And he says it's pretty rough terrain. Aquila says that this doesn't feel right and that they should be doing this as a team. And this is when Travis says, "You had a fucked up dream because you were huffing cape fumes, the same way that I tripped balls on mushrooms and Lottie told me what I was seeing. That's it. You're not a prophet. I didn't pick you as a fucking seer because I had a vision. I made it up. This is all made up. This is not real. And I think deep down you know that. But what is real is that he can get us home." Yeah, he did, Alan. Travis is more like himself this episode, ready to get the hell out. Yeah, he's ready to get out of Dodge, like for real ready. Like they were willing, and this caught my attention that like Travis was so desperate to get away from them and get help and get out of there that they had the gun on them. They were literally about to leave them in the woods alone with no way to defend themselves, no weapon, nothing. If they actually would have left, they would have left them with no, like, obviously they've come up with other ways to hunt now and they have traps and stuff like that, but that gun is so important for their survival, you know what I mean? And that would have been really messed up for them to leave them without that gun. But so Akila then pulls a fuzzy from her sweater and leaves it on a tree, marking a trail in the direction that Kodiak is leading them in. And this conversation to me indicates that possibly that Travis never truly believed in the wilderness, or he for some reason lost faith in it. But him saying that he knows that none of this was real makes me really think that he went along with it for like mob mentality, you know? Like either way, the idea of rescue like being a real possibility and a reality, like he seems to have shed those beliefs pretty quickly. And as Misty is walking through the wilderness, she notices one of those pieces of fabric on the tree branch. And that Akila left behind as a trail. This immediately made me think back to season 2 when Nat was leaving fabric on those trees when her and Travis were out hiking looking for hobby and food for everyone. Like that's what their purpose was. Like their purpose was meant for someone to find them, and that like it would have helped them be found maybe. I don't know. It just really made me think about that moment. So the group begins to pepper Hannah with questions and about what's been happening since they went missing. What day is it? Can you get us out? Did Mulder and Scully get together? Leave it to Van to ask the most important and pressing question of them all. Shauna asks if people are still looking for them, and Hannah asks, "Who are you?" And Nat says that they're a soccer team from Muskegon, New Jersey that crashed. Their plane crashed in the wilderness, and Hannah's like, "Oh my god, I remember that. You guys were all over the news." And they ask if anybody's still searching for them, and she says she doesn't know, and that they searched for months after the crash. And Van is like, "Oh boy, we've been out here a long time." Like, do they really not realize how long they've been out there? Like, don't you think that Shauna's pregnancy was a good indicator that they've been out there for a very long time? So that comment made me think, like, you're wrong. Ty never said that. She didn't replay the scene and hear what she says verbatim. It's a clue. Wait, what? What scene? What scene? But so Shauna is like, so you're saying that people just gave up, our friends, our family? And she's like really misplacing this anger, like with Hannah. Like she's directing it at Hannah for being mad that people aren't still searching for them. When Hannah is the only person that you've seen in a year that might be able to help you get rescued, and you're going to treat her like this. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Misplaced anger much, Shauna? So they ask her if she can get them back home since she was able to get out there. And she said she should be able to get back, but like, no, they said that she should be able to get back since she got out there. And Hannah asked Shauna, she's like, "Are you like the captain?" And that part made me laugh so hard because Melissa laughed so sarcastically in that moment. And Shauna says, "If I say yes, will you fucking start remembering?" And Nat tells Hannah that Shauna is not the captain. And Shauna said that Nat isn't the captain either. And Nat's like, "Yeah, because she's fucking dead." And I was like, yes, Natalie, you tell her. You tell her. She is dead. And it's kind of your fault. She said they didn't, the two ties. Oh, okay. I get what you guys are saying now. So Hannah begins to comment on how impressive the little villages that they created and that they made for themselves out there, trying to get in their good graces, obviously. And she asks if they built it, to which Shauna snottily replies, "Yeah, who else would have built it? You all obviously left us out here to fucking die." And like I said, like there's no sense in getting mad at the one person that you've seen in a year that might be able to actually help you get rescued at the end of the day. And Hannah tells them that she can't get out by herself, but that she had a guide named Kodiak that would be able to help. And just as they're having this conversation, Misty gets back to camp at this exact moment and tells them that she found Travis, Aquila, and the other one, as she calls him. And the group heads off to find them, and Shauna tells Ty to keep an eye on Hannah and Lottie because Lottie's kind of like just sitting in La La Land at this point, like dazed, confused, all of it. Like since she axed that guy in the head, like she's been wandering around aimlessly. Like Lottie's not. Lottie's not with it. She's not. Uh, so Callie and Jeff are at the Jolly Hitcher lobby getting dinner when Jeff sees the Joels and they wave him over. And I loved how Jeff was like, some people are the people that wave people over, and some people are the kind of people that just come when they're waved. Because we all know what kind of person Jeff is. Jeff is the kind of person that comes when he's waved. He's not the kind of person that waves you over. That was just really funny to me. And Jeff tells him that he'd actually love another shot to do business with them. And they tell him that they went in another direction. And the man that replaced Jeff walks in at this exact moment. And he says, not furniturefam.net. That's a worse direction, not a different direction. Now, do any of you know, is this the same website he said was running him out of business? And that's why he needed the loan from the loan sharks back in season 1 to keep his business afloat. Like, has this been around for this long? Or was this a new thing? Like, or a new person, if you know what I mean. So Misty calls Jeff looking for Shauna. Oh, I cringed so bad when they assumed Callie was his lover. Me too, Lola. That was gross. That was so gross. Because they were like, because Jeff has an epiphany in this episode. He's finally realizing Shauna's damaged goods. Yeah, that too. But back to this, I cringed. Like, don't you think that Callie looks too young to be his lover? Like, that was just so ew, gross. But Misty calls Jeff looking for Shauna, only offering him the most minute of details. She says Shauna ditched them at a hospital. And Jeff asks why they're at a hospital. Misty completely dodges the question. Is this to hide the fact that Van has cancer, or is this Misty just being evasive? And so Misty asked Jeff where Shauna was the day that Lottie died, and he says they were with her at the nursing home. You can tell Jeff is starting to get genuinely concerned at this point, and he asks what's going on, to which Misty replies, I too would love to know. And he's like, what's Shauna done now? Misty hangs up, but tells Jeff if Shauna calls to get back to the hospital ASAP. Poor freaking Jeff, man. Like, poor Jeff. He has been through the ringer for Shauna, like the ringer. And she really doesn't appreciate it, like, whatsoever. She really doesn't. Misty tells Shauna that, or Melissa tells Shauna, sorry, that she could have rang her doorbell like a sane person. And Shauna said she didn't exactly know that she lived there. So did Shauna really not know about Melissa until she saw her with her own eyes? Or did she somehow make the connection before she saw and spoke with her? Yeah, what the fuck, Misty freaking Jeff out. After the nursing home, she did go to NYC to get that cat, though. She did. You are 100% right, Melissa. So Shauna asks how she's even alive because they all went to her funeral. And Melissa says that cops will take the easy way out if you leave a suicide note without a body. So Melissa obviously pretended to kill herself so she could start her life over. Have a fresh, clean slate kind of thing, right? Like, that's what I assumed when they said this. I forget, why are they both called Joel? They're not both Joel. One of them is named Joel, and Shauna just called them the Joels. I think that's really what it is. So Shauna asked Melissa if she's still in love with her. And Melissa says no, she never really was, which shows just how conceited Shauna is, in my opinion. And Melissa says, you want to know why I did it? Because I had no other choice. After we made it back, I was no longer one of you. And you scared the absolute fucking shit out of me. So Shauna then puts the DAT tape on the counter and asks Melissa why she's fucking with her. She asked Melissa how she even had the tape to begin with. And Melissa tells Shauna that Hannah told her where to find it and begged her to bring it back and give it to her daughter if she ever made it back home. But it's obvious. Yes, freaky little fried mushroom. Yes. It's obvious that she never gave her the tape. And Melissa says she never gave her the tape, that she couldn't. And Shauna knows that. What good would it have been for her to know that, to have to live with that? Live with what? Is she implying that Alex would have been smart enough to figure out that they were responsible for Hannah's death? Like, why couldn't it have been played off that Hannah died because of exposure to the elements or something along those lines? Because you can't even, like, because you can hear Lottie killing the other scientists, like, If she doesn't know who Melissa is, or that Melissa is Melissa, she thinks Melissa is Kelly, then what would it matter if she heard the tape at all? Like, if she gave Alex the tape, if Alex doesn't think that Melissa has anything to do with it, why would it matter? Like, it just makes no sense. Her explanation is just all over the place for me. So Shauna questions why, instead of doing that, she ended up marrying Hannah's daughter. And like I've said, that is some fucked up shit. Like, to survive an ordeal like that and then find and seek out the daughter of a woman you killed, inserting yourself into her life, and then end up marrying her, that is beyond bizarre. Like, beyond. I really want to know what background story Melissa gave her. Same here, Jessica. She could have looked into things and find out Melissa was there. Melissa being in love with Shauna would have made more sense than the explanation she gave for sending the tape. Oh, well, the reason she gave made no sense whatsoever. Agreed. Melissa is twisted for doing that. Yes, she is twisted for doing that. Melissa says that she loves Alex and that what she has with Hannah's daughter is real, that she's happy with her life and she loves this woman. This isn't some sympathy marriage or some fucked up version of survivor's guilt. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe you literally married someone's daughter that you helped murder. I would say that qualifies for some warped sense of survivor's guilt if I've ever heard a case. Melissa says she couldn't give her the tape, but wanted to make sure she was okay. And at first, that's all it was. And Melissa says to Shauna, I know it doesn't matter to you, Shauna, but I have a good life. I have a decent job. I have a great kid. I go to church. I go to fucking church with a wife and a kid that loves me. And Shauna looks at her so stone cold and says, you're right. None of that matters to me. Sit. This right here, to me, 100% shows that Shauna has no conscience whatsoever. Like, none. Melissa is being genuine in this moment, or so it seems, unless she's just trying to save her own ass. And you can literally see that there's nothing going on in Shauna's mind. Her eyes are just blank, cold, hard. She gives no fucks. Is Shauna really going to kill her? Like, she is really off the rails at this point. Is she thinking about any consequences to her actions right now? Like, keeping her secret safe really seems more important to her than anything else, like, by far. Shauna has no soul. Shauna is wanting vengeance and nothing will persuade her. Shauna is a total sociopath at this point. Okay, we all seem to be on the same consensus that Shauna's lost her shit. Shauna still thinks Melissa is threatening her family. She does, yes. So then Akila is fixing her shoe when hiking with Travis and Kodiak, and she gets up, points her gun at them, and says, stop right there. And the rest of the group appear, surrounding them, and tells Kodiak that he is coming back to camp with them. And in this moment, Travis was on Kodiak's side, and as soon as everybody else showed up, he flipped so fast. It was so interesting to watch him flip so quickly when he believed rescue was on the horizon. Impossible. He was totally on Kodiak's side. But as soon as the rest of the group showed up and surrounded him, he flipped so fast. Like, he knows what needs to be done in order to protect himself. Much like Kevin Alves says in our interview that you guys can watch tomorrow. He believes Travis's superpower is staying alive, and he will do whatever needs to be done in order to keep staying alive and not draw attention to himself. So then the group begins to interrogate Travis and Akila, asking them where they were going. And Travis begins to say, I thought, or we thought, and then he's like, no, I thought. And Akila kind of starts chiming in, saying that they thought it would be faster and smarter if they went as a smaller group, like trying to save Travis's ass, because she really quickly realized that he was going to get them into trouble. I felt so bad for Travis at this point. Yeah, I did too. He had no choice. They had him cornered. I found it strange too, but I think it's self-preservation. Absolutely self-preservation, 100%, Lola. Like, no question. So Misty asked why Akila left the trail, and she says in case the Kodiak turned on them. Nat asks Kodiak if he can get them out of there, to which he says he can, and that it will take 6 days to hike to the rescue point. Nat begins to tell everyone to start packing whatever they can for rescue, and that they will need designated water carriers for the journey to the rescue point. And Shauna says maybe you didn't hear it the first time, but you're not in charge anymore. And if I were Natalie, I would have decked Shauna at this point, like straight up decked her. This is the first time since they crashed that they have a visible, actually plausible way to get back home. And Shauna wants to split hairs over who is the group leader. I wanted to punch Shauna in this moment, honestly. And they start debating what to do with Kodiak and Hannah once they make it to the rescue point. And Hannah says, "We'll say whatever you want us to say. I swear to God." And Shauna responds with, "That means nothing out here." Lottie speaks up and says they can't go back anymore. They don't belong, or they can't go back. They don't belong anymore. And Nat asks why anyone should listen to her. And then Nat says, "Come on, we got a lot of shit to do. Let's fucking go." And Lonnie and Shauna don't move from the spot that they are both in at this moment. They are like frozen. And it's like neither of them looks pleased at the idea of going back home. Shauna asks Melissa if she's so afraid in the adult timeline, if she's so afraid of Shauna ruining her life, why did she send her the tape in the first place? Melissa says the tape was haunting her and that she had it and for leverage in case anybody ever came looking for her. And Shauna asks why anybody would ever come looking for her, like if they assumed she was all dead. Haunting her, in my opinion, that is such a lame explanation to send the tape. And like Shauna actually has a point here. Why send it to her if you're deathly afraid that she's going to ruin your life? Like, why not send it to another survivor if you still need to get it off your hands? So it's someone else's problem, like someone that you aren't afraid is going to track you down and kill you. Why would Lottie start a cult? Why would you all join it and start making sacrifices again to appease some whatever the fuck? And Shauna says, "Okay, first of all, I did not join a cult. Also, it's more of an intentional community. But that's not what matters right now. That's not what happened." And Melissa says, "Shauna, Natalie died there. And some fucking cop. I stopped sleeping. One day I'm fine. And then the next minute I'm having these horrible nightmares. And then they start happening during the day, like the world's most fucked up daydreams. I had to do something." Okay. How in the world does Melissa know all those details? All those details. Lottie running a cult, them going there and joining, Natalie and Kevin Tan dying. Was that all in the news? Like, how else would Melissa have had any idea about any of that happening if she's living in Virginia? Like, do you really think that a story like that would make national news? That it would be on the local Virginia news station? Like, it makes no sense. Poor ex-classmate Kevin Tan being demoted to just some fucking cop. Walter, yes, Walter has been. We don't see the note that Callie has, right? "Hello, Brody. Nice to see you here." And no, we do not see the note that Callie has. No, we don't. Uh, so then Melissa tells Shauna that her therapist, Barbara, told her that she was holding on to something. And by sending Shauna the tape, she was metaphorically letting go of that darkness. And by sending the tape to Shauna, she was giving her the opportunity to do the same. Except I don't think Shauna wants to let go of that darkness. I think that she lives for the chaos and the darkness and destruction. Those are the things that make her feel the most alive. So, no, she does not want to take that tape and do away with it to forget what happened. Like, she's living for this right now. Like, as Melissa said, she lives to blow shit up. Like, that is what she lives for. And I totally agree. Um, Melissa tells Shauna that it was all written in the note that she left with the tape on the day of Nat's funeral. Like we were just saying, what note did I don't even recall Callie finding a note with the tape when she discovered it. Like, could somebody else have possibly gotten hold of this tape and package before Callie retrieved it and taken the note? But why just the note? And I don't think that's likely because, like, we see the person outside of Shauna's house before it gets dropped off. The tape gets dropped off. We hear the door creaking. Callie goes over immediately. So for somebody else to retrieve the note would be really like, I don't think that timing would work out. We do see her reading a note in the season 3 trailer. Are you referring to Callie, Lola? Because I don't remember that. Are you talking about Shauna? But So Shauna accuses Melissa of being the one that left the phone in the hotel. Shauna is reading a note in the season 3 trailer. Okay, Alan. So then she has to get the note at some point. Like she has to see it somehow, you know? Like it has to be somewhere. Maybe Callie does have it. That would be my only guess. But like if Callie read it, then Callie obviously knows, like Callie knows some shit. So that kind of makes Callie look a little sus, as the kids say these days. Uh so Shauna accuses Melissa of being the one who left the phone in the hotel bathroom and cut her brakes and locked her in the freezer. And you can tell that Melissa genuinely has no idea what Shauna is talking about when she brings all these instances up. So I'm beginning to think that no one was actually messing with Shauna, like in any of these cases, that these all were just random coincidences that happened that look suspicious and fishy. And it was all just her paranoia making something out of nothing. We can make all the pacts and vows of silence that we want. But if you really think about it, the only way to be truly safe, to be 100 fucking certain, to be 100% fucking certain that nobody is ever going to spill your darkest secrets, is to be the only one left. That's why you killed Lottie, isn't it? That's why you pushed her down the stairs. That's why you came after me. So they obviously do make some kind of vow of silence or a pact when they're rescued to keep quiet about what happened out in the wilderness. Will we see the formation of this pact? I really freaking hope so. Like, that is a conversation I want to see happen. That is a detail that I do not want them to leave out. I want to see those things play out while they're planning for their rescue. Shauna does love danger for sure. She tries to hide it as much as possible, but her fear and paranoia is bringing it all back out now. I agree. Coincidences. Yeah. I want to see the pact. Me too, Dustin. Misty's going to show up. In the season 3 trailer, there's a shot of her standing in Melissa's house with blood on the wall. The wall art is the same. I do remember that. So based off this conversation, like I said, I'm assuming that what happened at Lottie's compound had to have made the news in some fashion. Like, right? I mean, how else do you expect Melissa knowing all this shit? Like, it's so fishy. It's so weird for her to know all this stuff that like has happened in Shauna's life recently without living in Jersey or being around and being involved. It just doesn't make any sense. Could be a lot of coincidences, but that's a lot of coincidences, lol, and coincidental timing. Yeah, that is true. It's a lot of coincidences. The crime website, yeah. If she like looked at crime websites like Missy and Walter do, then that would be like an obvious answer. But I don't know if she's a citizen detective. Oh, Shauna made them sign in blood. Melissa could be a citizen detective. Maybe she could. Maybe. And maybe that's where Walter comes in. That would be a twist. I'm sure Lottie's dad would make sure it made the headlines. I'm sure it's Walter. You really think it's Walter, don't you, Lola? uh, so then Ty is standing in front of a random man's hospital room looking at his chart. And Misty approaches her and Ty asks her how much longer this man has to live. Misty looks at his chart and says he's dying. He's an end stage heart failure. Ty goes into his room and grabs a pillow to smother the man, but she can't go through with it and she screams. And as she screams, the man begins to code and she's like, "Does that count?" Which just cracked me up so hard. Oh my God, that was so funny. Then we get into a montage of the things that the girls are excited for when they get back home. Which I love this part. I thought it was so funny when they show Mari with the Slurpee, Misty on the toilet with real toilet paper. Van imagines an actual bed with blankets. Oh my God, does that count? Made me laugh so hard. Yeah, that was hilarious. Because when you think about it, like most of the funny lines come from like Misty. So to get one from Ty, like it just killed me. Oh, it was so funny. It was so good. Ty approaches Van and asks her what's going to happen if they can't be together when they get back. And Van asks her what she means. Ty asks Van if she really thinks that like enough time has passed in the real world, like for their situation to be okay. And like this is clearly something that has sat in the back of Tyan's mind, probably the entire time that they've been out there. Despite everything, she's still nervous about what the rest of the world is going to think. And Ty says, "Aren't you worried about what we're going to have to tell people? All the lies we will have to memorize and be on the exact same page about everything we've done out here. What happened to Jackie and Javi? And no matter what, we can't trust the scientists. We're going to have to kill them, Van. And even then, someone could slip up when we get home and everyone would know what we did. And I don't know what would happen, but it wouldn't be good for us. Our futures would be fucked. This will follow us for the rest of our lives. This place will follow us for the rest of our fucking lives. Why is no one thinking about this? And so, for once, I actually have to agree with Ty here at this point. They have no plan as to what will happen if they are actually rescued. They have not had a collective group conversation at this point to discuss what they will tell people. I mean, Lottie literally took an axe to a man's head because they didn't belong here. We then see the man with no eyes standing behind Ty at this point. And I think, in my opinion, and I'm assuming a lot of you will agree with me, is that this happens to indicate that that the other Ty is now in control for what we see play out for the remainder of the episode. At least that's what I think. I think for at least the remainder of this episode is other Ty in control and dominating the situation. Yes, Brody, there you are, the man with no eyes himself. So Melissa and Shauna get into a verbal altercation about Shauna not caring that Melissa was shot with an arrow by Kodiak. And Shauna says to her, I wanted to be the person who got the guy that shot you. Oh, how romantic, Shauna. The things that Shauna says to get in people's good graces sometimes. It's really amusing to see how they've changed from the beginning of their time in the wilderness to where they are in the story now. They get into a discussion about what they're going to do after rescue. And Melissa said she's going to do everything that she thought she wouldn't be able to get to do, like college and get a 9-to-5 and get a gym membership that she never uses. And which I really love that the gym membership that she never uses just cracked me up. And Shauna like doesn't seem overjoyed at the idea of being rescued at all, like as they're having this conversation. And as they're speaking, one of those moths that was in the light at the beginning of the episode when Shauna has that dream about her and Jackie in the grocery store is above Melissa's head, like hovering. And this kind of confused me a little bit. Like this threw me off. Was this a dream / vision / nightmare that adult Shauna had, or was it teen Shauna? Or did she imagine this both as a teenager and an adult? Like, did it first happen when she was a teenager and then she saw it again? It's the moth from the Silence of the Lambs. No, it's not. Is it really? It's the same kind of moth as the moth from the Silence of the Lambs. I love that movie. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time. Such a good movie. But that is such a cool little nugget of information. Thank you for sharing that, Lola. Back in the adult timeline, Shauna says to Melissa, she's not fucking stupid. And Melissa agrees with that. And Shauna goes on to say that she's not insane either, to which Melissa gives a look like, yeah, bitch, you are certifiable. And I have to agree at this point. But she actually responds with, I'm not saying you are, but I didn't kill Lottie. I didn't do any of those things you said. And Shauna says she doesn't believe her. Melissa tells Shauna that she has a normal, boring life, which is obviously where the episode title comes from. And Shauna tells her that her life is anything but normal, considering her wife doesn't even know her real identity. She tells Melissa, you don't get to have a normal life. And let's be real here. Melissa saying she has a normal life is pretty rich considering her entire marriage is built on one huge lie. This goes to show that pretty much none of them came out of the wilderness unscathed. They all had their own shit and their own trauma to deal with, and they clearly all processed it, or quite frankly, didn't process it at all in their own ways. Callie calls, I believe Melissa didn't do those things. I do too. I don't think Melissa had anything to do with any of it. I don't. I really think that it's just Shauna. I think as an adult, she remembered that vision. Okay, that makes sense, Allison. Jackie's the one always reminding Shauna that you never did anything when she got back. Life has been hugely disappointing for her. Yeah, I would agree. Life has been majorly disappointing for Shauna. Like she had so much to look forward to before that plane crash happened, and everything changed for her. Callie calls Shauna in this moment, and Melissa asks if that's her daughter. She asks Shauna if Callie knows what she's done and what she's capable of. And Shauna tells her that she does, and that Callie still loves her anyway. And Melissa says to her, Who's lying now? Which, oh, that had to get to Shauna so bad in that moment when she said that. Callie leaves Shauna a voicemail telling her that she's breaking dad. We see Jeff come out of the bathroom at this moment, leaving Misty a voicemail to call him back about Shauna. He calls her freaky little four-eyed mushroom, which just, oh my gosh, love Jeff. Can't love him any more than I do. Like, if anything happens to him, I will riot. I will straight up riot. So Callie says to Jeff that she doesn't think that anyone is actually messing with Shauna, and Jeff agrees with her. Imagine Hannah as Pit Girl, Melissa's involved, and then Mallet marries Alex. That is so disturbing, Becca. That is so disturbing to think about. Imagine that Hannah is Pit Girl and Melissa was involved. That is just so wrong. Oh my gosh. I never even thought about it in that sense until you just said that. Poor Jiffy Jeff is losing it. Yeah. Breaking Shauna, breaking dad while Shauna's at Melissa's Breaking Bad. That's a funny one, Lola. That was a good one. So like Callie said she thinks what they like did to survive messed them up way more than anybody ever thought possible. And that what really happened to Lottie has nothing to do with them. So Jeff tells Callie to pack her stuff and that they're going home. And this is when we get the Wonderwall Oasis needle drop. Love that song. Such a good needle drop. The Nora Felder, the music, the person in charge of music for the show, has just killed it every season. The music has just been top notch. It's just so good. Like, I loved the song that they used for the montage of them. I can't remember the title of it, but I know the song. I could sing it. I'm not going to sing for you guys right now, but I could sing it. When we see Mari drinking the Slurpee and Misty on the toilet, love that song too. Lots of good song choices this season. I want to know if Misty heard Jeff. If she did, Jeff is probably not long for this world. Rachel would have loved that needle drop. R.I.P. Rachel. Oh my gosh, yes, because she never heard Wonderwall ever again, as Van said, or whatever she said. So we hear this as it shows the group preparing for rescue and to leave the wilderness. And Akila then has a vision of all the animals that they have in the pen mysteriously dead. And she begins freaking out. Lottie comes over and asks her if she's okay. And Akila asks Lottie if this is real, if the animals are really alive. To which Lottie asks Akila if she has a vision. And then it cuts away from them. So I'm really curious to see what goes on between those two after that moment. Definitely Team Melissa. I have to start with the fries and finish on a burger and drink. Jen is just crazy. So we then see Nat take Coach's bones to the plane and put them with everyone else's remains. And she apologizes to him and says she wishes that he could have got to this moment. And Nat hears something outside the plane at this moment. And she says, "We're going home. Got it. We're leaving whatever you are behind." So even though Nat like doesn't really believe in the wilderness, like things like this make me think that like she did believe even just a little bit, you know? Like, why else would you make that statement? Like, because you got a creepy vibe? Like, I feel like even though they know it's not real, it still it's still something that like crosses their mind, you know? So then we see what appears to be Ty enter a hospital room and lock the door behind her. We then see Ty standing outside the hospital room, seemingly watching herself. And she says, "Please, I need to see her. I need to be with her. Let me in." And her other personality replies, "I can't. I'm the only one that can help her. You won't do what needs to be done. You never did believe." And we see her crying outside the hospital room. But what is other Ty planning on doing here? Like, I can't see her killing Man. So where do things go from here? Yet another indication to show us that Dark Ty is in complete control of everything right now. I think the wind really fucked with them out there. That's possible. Dark Ty is very unpredictable. Yes. So Nat and Travis point the gun and the bow and arrow at Kodiak and Hannah. And Nat says that they are counting on them to get out safely and says that if they do any stupid shit, that they will kill them. And can I just say how much Sophie Thatcher has just completely embodied Juliette Lewis from here on out in this scene, in this episode? She nailed it. Like, I am so impressed with her this season. She is honestly my favorite in the teen timeline this season by far. Her performance has just been top notch. Like, Natalie for the win. Teen Nat all the way. Sophie T is killing it. She really is. I think it is the darkness of the wilderness that they feel, not necessarily something supernatural like Lottie feels. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sophie nailed the voice. She absolutely did. She's so good this season. Like, I'm so thoroughly impressed with everything she's given us. Um, so as they're getting ready to head out and hike to the meeting point, Lottie says that she's staying. And Nat tries to reason with her. She says she knows it's a lot and that it's scary, but this is rescue and this is very real. And Lottie asks Nat in this moment what kind of home she has to go back to. And you could see the veil like fall on Nat's face for a minute. Like, she wants to get out, but at the same time, Lottie's right. What does Nat have to go home to? What does she have to be excited about getting out of the wilderness? How will it be any better for her? I mean, we've seen her home life. We know what her situation is. Like, she's one of the only ones we've gotten a glimpse into what their life is like. So, that was like a low blow for Lottie to throw out, in my opinion. Like, really low blow. And Jessica agrees. That was so cold. Low fucking blow. That was heartbreaking. Yeah. That was not nice. All Right by Supergrass was the Montage song. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so then Lottie says, I can't go back. If I go back, nothing will be well. I won't. I won't be well. I won't be me. The me that was made out here. And that unwellness that I feel it so deeply in my bones. We're safer here. And what's so interesting about this is that this literally ended up coming true in the adult timeline. Like, Lonnie somehow knew things wouldn't be better for her back in civilization than they were in the wilderness. She really did, like, kind of belong out there. Like, that was where she thrived. That was where she didn't have to be medicated and have people telling her that she was wrong. Like, she could exist as she was. And that was clearly how she wanted to be. Nat tells her to stay then. And then Shauna says she's staying too. Says she isn't staying because of Lottie or it, but something just doesn't feel right. And then Ty says she's staying behind too. Whatever the fuck Shauna and Lottie have been feeling, I've been feeling it too since those two arrived. And she points to Kodiak and Hannah, which really upsets Van. And she begins protesting, telling Ty to pick up her stuff and that she's coming with them. And Travis says, what doesn't feel right is staying and ignoring rescue. And Nat says, fuck it, let's go. Like, they can stay here. And they all begin to walk away and leave with Nat saying, we're going. To which Shauna says, no, you're not. Okay, why wouldn't you just turn around and leave? I've heard of Stockholm Syndrome, but I didn't think it applied to your physical surroundings, like where you are. What in God's name is making them even toy with the idea that staying there is better than going home? Like, this is their first real shot at getting back home since that plane crash. Why would they not jump at it? Why is Shauna trying to prevent them from going back to civilization? Like, she didn't even believe in it and the wilderness's power. So, like, what in God's name is actually happening right now? That's how I felt when I was watching. I was like, what is going on? But in Ty's case, like I said, I think that seeing the man with no eyes indicated that Dark Ty is calling the shots in the teen timeline now as well. Forest Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe, Brody. That's a good one. Maybe. Shaunable Lecter. That's when you immediately just keep walking like, screw you, Shauna. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't they just go? Like, Shauna didn't have a weapon. Shauna didn't have a way to stop them. Like, she was literally just saying, no, you don't leave. Like, okay, I'm going to say yes, I'm leaving, and I'm going to leave. It was so crazy. So Jeff and Callie check out of the hotel, and the girl working at the front desk tells Jeff that they're all set, which catches him off guard. And, like, is Jeff just not aware that this is how checking out of hotel rooms works in the 21st century now? Because he seemed really shocked that, like, he didn't have to sign any paperwork or, like, give a card or anything like that. And when they're checking out, he says that they were in rooms 2106 and 2107. And 2106 is actually the same room that Shauna and Adam used when they hooked up at the same hotel back in season 1. Someone on Reddit pointed out this little Easter egg. He sees the Joels on the way out and approaches them, telling them that they need to give him another chance to work with them. And that they shouldn't hold how crazy Shauna is against him, and that she's the reason that they didn't hit it off. He kind of throws Shauna under the bus in this moment to make himself look better. Like he says, haven't you ever fell in love with an unhinged woman before? Or has every woman you've ever been with been fucking boring? Which, go Jeff. Kodiak does say, I'm out, and starts walking in the new promo. He does. He absolutely does. And then I'm sure if you saw the rest of the promo, you saw what happens after that. So Melissa asked Shauna if her brakes were cut or if her car is just old. Did someone lock you in the freezer, or do walk-in freezer doors just shut if they're propped open? Did someone kill Lottie, or did she just struggle from a lifetime of mental health issues? And Melissa raises all good points and questions when you look at this situation as an outsider. Like, Shauna kind of looks crazy and incredibly paranoid. Is it possible, like I asked earlier, that all these things are just coincidences? And this has all been in Shauna's head. Like, she's creating the scenario and the chaos herself with no outside forces meddling. Melissa tells Shauna that she thinks Shauna showed up there because Shauna wants her life to explode, that it's fun for her. She says, you stew and you seethe and you make it everyone else's problem because you hate to be alone. You hate yourself and you want everyone else to feel just as miserable as you are. And Reddit user Unable Mushroom 9355 said about this line. This line is from the adult timeline, but sums up Shauna's actions in the teen timeline perfectly. She's making her fear of going home everyone else's problems. It's not enough that she gets to stay behind. She needs to make sure no one else gets to leave because she wants them to feel as miserable as she does. To Shauna, the only thing worse than going back is the other girls going back and being happier than her. And I think that that is so 100% accurate, that Shauna isn't necessarily afraid of rescue. She's afraid that they're all going to go back and their lives are going to be great and her life is going to suck because she has nothing to look forward to, in her opinion, anymore. Because Brown is out of the question now that they've been stranded, which I don't get. Like, why does that mean you can't go to college? But Melissa gets up to grab a glass of water, and Shauna kind of freaks and jumps up from the table and grabs the knife. Melissa tells her to relax and that she's just grabbing some water. And I 100% think this is Melissa attempting to think on her feet and somehow find a way out of the situation. And I don't blame her at all. And so then she says, you know what I think? I think you came here because you want your life to explode. It's fun for you. It lights you up. You want to burn it all down just so you can watch. And as she says this, she puts the glass of water down in front of Shauna, and she attempts to grab the knife to get it away from Shauna. Shauna then slices Melissa's arm. Well, this is when Melissa initially gets up to grab the water. So she slices Melissa's arm. They get into a physical altercation. Shauna starts punching Melissa in the face. Then Melissa headbutts Shauna. Shauna then bites Melissa's arm, taking a chunk of skin off, and tells Melissa to eat it. She says if she doesn't eat it, she will tell Melissa's family who she really is. And Melissa then tells Shauna she's fucking insane. Which, let's be real, she looks absolutely fucking psycho in this moment. And let's think about this for a minute as well. The force that you have to bite someone with to rip a chunk of their flesh off like this. Like, oh, holy shit. Holy shit, guys. That was insane. Like, that was absolute sanity. Like, when getting the water, she should have ran to the door and booked it. Yeah, that's true. Melissa's words to Shauna were so on point. Shauna turned so savage. That's an understatement. I think she brings the 2 cups of water anyway in case something happens to her. Oh, that's a really good point, Lola. Yeah, I think she brings the 2 cups of water anyway in case something happened to her. They would see someone was there with her. Yeah, this moment was certifiably insane. Yeah, totally shocking. She must have some sharp teeth. Okay, so like I said before, did Shauna know that Melissa was there when she sat outside the house doing her stakeout? Or was she surprised by Melissa's presence when she went inside to seemingly confront Hannah's daughter? She had no idea Melissa was she said she had no idea that Melissa was even still alive. So which one is it? I don't think Shauna knew Melissa would be there initially. But my other question is, if Melissa wasn't there and she did end up confronting Hannah's daughter, what were her original intentions in going there to confront her? Was she just going to murder anyone who gets in her way and jeopardizes her secrets getting out? Like, it really seems like Shauna's completely lost it, went off the deep end, went AWOL at this point, like completely AWOL. I think Shauna was surprised by Melissa, and that's why she really couldn't handle it at all. Yeah. Shauna bit Van, Mari, and now Melissa. That's very, very true. She did. She bit all three of them. I saw a picture of all three of those things happening. Like, I should have pulled it up. It was a meme. Excuse me. It was a meme, and it was so good. Okay. So now, while I do think that Lottie, Shauna, and Ty are kind of cuckoo for saying they want to stay, like I said a little earlier, I do think that Ty had a good point when she asked Van what they were going to tell the rest of the world about what happened when they got back. Like, that place will follow them for the rest of their fucking lives, and it has, as we have seen. I think their poorly thought out plan to hike to the rescue point and then get rid of Hannah and Kodiak would never work. How in the world would they ever explain any of that to any rescue team? And who's to say that getting to the rescue point will actually even get them rescued? They may have to wait there for someone. Like, they may have needed to call someone on the broken sat phone to let them know they needed to be picked up. Unless they had a specific meeting time already planned out, but the group would have had no knowledge of any of that information. So I do kind of think that they need to get their ducks in a row in a way, get their story straight, make up a story, period, and stick to it. Make sure everyone is on the same page. All the things to ensure that none of their secrets get out. And in this episode, Shauna makes a comment to Melissa in the adult timeline about making pacts and vows of silence. So they very clearly come up with some kind of story to give the general public about their experience. I really hope that we're privy to that discussion. I'm beginning to think that those scratches on Jeff's hands and arms aren't even from the cat that Shauna brought home for Jeff's karma points, rather than Jeff scratching as a nervous habit because he's a wreck with everything that's been going on. I really think that Jeff is innocent in all of this. And we know how innocents fare on this show, guys. Like, which makes me a little nervous that we could see something bad happen to Jeff before the show wraps up, which would just utterly crush me. It would crush me. No Walter in this episode. What is he up to? I just have a sinking feeling he could be up to no good the further we get into the storyline. What if he really is a Yellowjackets obsessive after all? I theorized last live stream that Walter could possibly be behind the unauthorized story that we see in Adam's apartment when Shauna goes there to kill him. What if that was actually Walter and he's been in play for way longer than we ever realized? I could see them throwing something like that at us. Like, we know that they're intentional with pretty much every detail in the show, leaving clues and Easter eggs along the way for us to catch as we watch. So anything is possible. They could have figured that out while they were hiking. That's true. They could have. I mean, 6 days is a long time. He might have cat scratch fever. Jeff is a long-suffering husband. Jeff has stress hives. Poor Jeff. The rash could be a symptom of Jeff's anxiety. I've gone through that, and it's awful. Oh. So does anyone actually believe Melissa's story that she sent the tape because she was haunted by it? That just seems like such an utterly lame explanation. And like I said earlier, even if she was telling the truth, what sense does it make to send something to someone that you are admitting that you're afraid of? That makes literally zero sense whatsoever. I don't think Melissa was responsible for any of the other things, like weird shit that was happening to Shauna this season. I think her sole involvement in all of this is sending the tape. I don't think she killed Lottie. I believed her when she said she didn't even know that Lottie was dead. The rest I'm skeptical about, though, especially her reason for sending the tape. It feels like there could be more to the story here. As someone with very little complaints about the show, yeah, that was a stupid explanation. No, I don't believe her story, neither does Shauna. Also, it blew her cover. Melissa is lying for sure. The llama telling Nikila that everything bites. Yeah, everything does bite, especially Shauna, apparently. Another thing that crossed my mind. Didn't Melissa think about the fact that Shauna didn't even have any idea that this tape existed before sending it to her? So essentially, Melissa created a brand new problem for herself by making the decision to send it to Shauna. She knows Shauna and she knows what Shauna's capable of. So didn't she assume that Shauna would come looking for her after sending the tape to her? Like she herself said she was fucking terrified of Shauna. So it makes no sense. How did Misty not catch that Melissa was still alive? Misty prides herself on being a good citizen detective, yet she missed Lottie being out of the mental institution and starting her own cult. So is she not as savvy as we all once believed her to be? Like, is she really not the superior citizen detective in this equation? Could it really be Walter? Could he really be better than her? If Melissa was a sane person, she would have destroyed it, but clearly she's just messed up from the trauma. Yeah, that's very, yes. Woo! Well, that was a fun discussion, you guys. I had a lot to say about this episode for obvious reasons. I am super excited for the next episode to see what happens next after Psycho Shauna introduces cannibalism into the adult timeline. Next week's episode, did Misty find the note? Oh, you mean like because Misty was. Are you referring to the fact that Misty and Lottie were at Shauna's house after Callie got the tape? So maybe Misty stumbled upon the note, Alan? That's what I'm thinking you mean. Miss, Lottie, Melissa, and who knows how many more. How many Yellowjackets were actually rescued? Wonder if Jessica, the PI, figured it out or just took the suicide as fact. Okay, yeah. Well, that's always possible. I never considered that, but maybe she did. Maybe Lottie found the note. Like if Misty could have found it, Lottie could have found it too, you know? Either one of them could have found it. Next week's episode is titled How the Story Ends. And I have a feeling this indicates another character is going to meet their end in this episode, guys. Like it's just a hunch. It's so crazy to me that there's only 2 episodes left for the season. Like we wanted it all to get here so badly, and it's literally breezed right by. I don't know about all of you, but I've enjoyed every second of this season. I have already started on my notes for the finale episode in 2 weeks. I'm probably going to make that live stream a little longer than usual, given it's the finale episode, and I want to chat about everything with all of you and end this season on a really fun note. I have some fun ideas up my sleeve for episodes in the off season. I'm going to start with an episode the week after the show ends where we discuss and dissect the questions that we had answered this season and the questions that we still have left to be answered before the show concludes. That will be a really fun one. I'm really looking forward to that one. So same time, same place. It'll be 9 p.m. the Sunday after the finale airs. Gonna keep it the same just so that everybody knows where to find me. That will be, like I said, that will be a really fun one. And I know I can be a bit long-winded at times, but I'm truly just so excited to share my thoughts and theories with you guys. Like I could honestly go on for hours. So it's really tough for me to condense everything down. I know I've discussed the show privately with multiple people here now, and we can chat for hours about the show. It's literally never ending. And as I always end these live streams, I want to thank you all for being here with me every week. You are what makes these live streams happen and what makes them fun. I love the community we have here and the discussions that are had week to week. It's one of the highlights of my week each week. And as I've said before, which is another reason I have some fun stuff planned for the off season, so we can continue to keep the buzz going within the fandom until we get season 4, guys. Also, if you have yet to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do that. If you're big on theorizing, you should absolutely buzz into the Reddit Hive and join there as well. The name there is just Yellowjackets Hive. That community has grown so much since the show came back on the air, and I am super thankful for every member that has joined. What are we watching next? Are you talking about what show are we watching next, Melissa? Because that's a good question. I am wondering that myself. I am trying to find another show to get as obsessed with about as I was about Yellowjackets. So throw them at me, guys. Give me some suggestions. But so thank you guys all for buzzing in and hanging out with me this week. And with that, until I spill again.